So the fourth level, is what I call the open-minded learner, right? Now, these are the guys who they've come to that place where they begin to say to themselves, okay, so now I know I need help, right? Now I know I need help. I don't know everything. I need help. These are the guys that are actively seeking for information from the right sources, right? And this is where the changes in your life begin to happen, right? When you come into that place of open-mindedness, this is where the changes begin to happen. It is not where the real change happens. I'm going to come to that, but it is where the changes begin to happen, because at this point you come to realization that, oh, okay, so there is a possibility that I do not know everything. There's a possibility that I do not know everything when it comes to relationship. There's a possibility that I do not know everything when it comes to marriage. There's a possibility that I do not know everything when it comes to business. There's a possibility that I do not know everything when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Science, spirituality. So who knows better than I do? Who are these people that know better than I do? Who are the people that can guide me? Who are the people that have arrived or are at the destination that I would like to be? These are some of the critical questions that people who are at the level of open-mindedness, the open-minded learners, begin to ask. They start to ask these critical questions. Who is the person that has this result that I am looking for? So let's say you want to make $10,000 monthly. Who do you know in your field? Who do you know in your industry or in a related industry that is actually doing $10,000 monthly? You want to do $100,000 monthly? Who do you know in your industry? Who do you know that can teach you? This is the level. Now they begin to ask and seek for knowledge actively, right? From sources and all of that. They begin to ask for help instead of just pretending to know. These are the guys, right? You begin to ask for help. You begin to ask for assistance. You begin to ask for coaching, right? And they start applying what they begin to learn. But the problem, however, with these guys is that, interestingly, some of them still struggle with their ego sometimes. The only difference is the degree of the ego. So let's say before, like that of the resistant learner, the unteachable. Let's say their ego level was at 100% or at a 90%. For the open-minded learner, the ego level has dropped drastically to maybe a 10%. And because the ego has dropped, there is this openness to learn. There is an openness to begin to accept new knowledge. There is an openness inside of them. Now, in spite of the openness, sometimes it might take longer for them to act because, of course, like I said, the ego is still there. Now, let me give you an instance. So let's say, for example, you are a web developer, right? You're a web developer, and then you're good at what you do. Then you find yourself in an organization, right, where you're working with a senior developer, right, or a senior programmer. He knows better than you do. You are good at what you do, but he knows better than you do, and he's your superior. Now, for someone who is an open-minded learner, will be like, okay, so he just corrected me about a code line, about something. It's not as though I don't know that thing before, but okay, I'm still going to go back and implement what he asked me to do. You might drag your feet, but you're definitely going to go and implement what he asked you to do. This is the open-minded learner. He knows that what he did, he does not know everything, but the ego is on the line still, right? Okay, I'm going to do the things that you asked me to do. I'm going to make the improvement you asked me to make, but it does not mean you necessarily know better than I do, or it doesn't necessarily mean that you are my boss. That kind of a thing. Their ego is still on the line, right? That is it basically. Now, sometimes the problem with these guys also is that they easily get overwhelmed with too much information, because at this point of the open-minded, learning is a place of information seeking. So you go on YouTube, you're searching for different things. You're trying to learn from this one, you're trying to learn from that one, and many times there could be what I call information overload. Information overload, basically, right? So you need to understand at every point in your life, you need to be able to define the level that you're in and the characteristics of that level that you're in. So if you're learning a new skill, you need to ask yourself, as I'm learning this new skill, am I bringing an ITK mentality into this? Am I bringing that of a reluctant learner into this? Am I bringing that of a selective learner into this? Am I trying to choose who teaches me? excuse me, am I trying to teach who I'm going to learn this from? Or am I being open-minded that regardless of whoever the person is, I'm going to learn from the person? Which one exactly are you? Right? So that's the 4th level of the teachability. Right now, there's a 5th level. And this is where it begins to get very interesting. There's a 5th level. And the 5th level is what I call the action-oriented learner. This is where your life begins to change. Like, this is where you start to see significant changes in your life. This is it, the action-oriented learners. Because the action-oriented learner will say, teach me this stuff and I will fucking execute it. This is what goes through their mind. I go online, I buy courses, I go online and I watch this and I'm like, okay, so I don't know this thing. In fact, I realized that what actually changed, my advertisement game actually changed when I started listening to 2 specific people online. 2 people online. That was when my result in advertisement changed. Of course, I was getting results before now, but my ability to say, okay, so this person, I've seen that this person has results, this other person too has results. They are making more money than I am making. What do they know that I do not know? So I submitted myself to them. And I can run campaigns this time. I run campaigns these days, and they are getting massive turn-ups. These are things that I could not. I was getting results before now, but I had to submit myself to someone who knows, to people who know better than I do. And I did not just submit myself, I executed on the things that they taught me. So if you're watching this, it is not just enough for you to learn. It's not just enough for you to be teachable. Question: are you executing on the things that you're being taught? Are you seeking feedback and improving on what you're being taught? In the virtues of in the series in curiosity, I talked about the fearlessly curious, right? And I said that these are the guys that they are not afraid of. They are not afraid of the feedbacks they get. They are not afraid of the findings, the discoveries that they get to make. So while you are in that place of an action-oriented learner, there are things that you are going to find out. There are things that you are going to see. There are things that you are going to behold, right? There are things you're going to behold, and it is your responsibility for you to execute on these things and make iterations as it demands. Make changes as it demands, right? You are learning, yes, it's good, it's fantastic, but learning without execution is you deceiving yourself. And I cannot say this enough. You can spend years and years and times again and times to keep learning. If you are not executing, you will not see results. Result does not come because you're learning. Result comes because you're executing, and then you are refining that process. That is where results come, as a result of the feedback and the data that you get. Does that make any sense at all? Awesome. Now, these are the people that I like to call the mad scientists. I like to regard myself as a mad scientist because I want to see what is working. I want to test what is working, and whatever is working, I want to see how I can make it better. This morning, one of the things that I did was that I saw a creative of mine that has been pulling in great results, and I sat down and I said, okay, so I started questioning this creative to define how that creative would exist next. I started questioning it. And that was as a result of the feedback that I got. So you have to stay in that energy of the action-oriented learner. You don't just sit and learn. You don't just learn. You have to put into action, because this is where your life begins to change. You have to become a fucking executioner. This is not the place where you sit and begin to overthink things. No, you learn, you move into action. You learn, you move into action. You learn, you move into action. You learn, and you fucking move into action. This is the place of the action-oriented learner. And this is where you want to be. If you're not in this place, what happens is that by the time you start learning and you learn and you learn, your mind becomes a garbage dump. And that's why there are so many people who know too much. I used to be like that. There are so many people who know so much with little results, because all they do is to keep learning and doing this and things, and they get into what we call analysis paralysis, right? Because they want to be sure that this is going to work. They want to learn. But if all you are doing is learning and you're not executing, bro, there will be no result. I can't casual. I don't know how better to say this to you so you understand. There will be no result. So as you're learning, put it into action. As you put it into action, you're getting feedback. Make improvements. As you make improvements, send it to the market again. You learn those things, you keep improving, you keep testing everything, and you get to the realm of what I like to describe as the mad scientist. One of my WhatsApp profile actually described myself as a mad scientist, and that is a joy for me. being able to make improvements, being able to put the things that I have learned to work from mentors, from teachers, having been able to submit myself to them, to learn from them, and then taking that knowledge and putting that knowledge into action and getting results from that stuff. That is the level of the action-oriented learner. So we've talked about the unteachable, right? We've talked about the resistant learner. We've talked about the selective learner. We've talked about the open-minded learner. We've talked about the action-oriented learner. Now there's a sixth level. Pay attention to me. There's a sixth level, bro. And that level is what I call the adaptive learner. Now the major difference there are two major differences between the action-oriented learner and the adaptive learner, and I'm going to share what those two differences are. The number one difference is that they don't have their ego on the line anymore, like no ego on the line, like zero ego on the line. So they put their arrogance aside. They are no longer struggling with, can I submit myself to this person or not? Is he qualified to teach me or not? No, they've settled that long time ago. They've been able to settle that. What they are thinking is, how fast can I learn, apply, and adjust? How fast can I learn? So for them now, for someone who's an adaptive learner, it's a thing of speed. And this is where you begin to see things like, this is the level of learning where the guys that work in the biggest organization reside. So for example, the guys that work in Google, the engineers in Google, they understand that, man, move as fast as you can. It was Zuckerberg who said that. Move as fast as you can. Break things. Move as fast as you can, because we understand that at this point, speed is of the essence. So you don't just learn, you're applying. You don't just apply, you're moving fast, because you understand that the world is a competitive place. And for every time that you slow down, for every time that you're not putting these things to work, someone else is out there. And this is something I personally had to work on: speed of execution. When you learn, what is the distance? What is the time frame between when you learn stuff and when you start applying it? What is the time frame between when you start applying that thing, right, and when you start adjusting, making adjustments on the basis of the feedback that you are getting? So you don't just learn, you refine and you improve as you go. You don't just get stuck on one approach. You don't just stay there. You refine these things. You keep going. You adjust quickly until you find something that is working. And you adjust quickly when that thing that you've been doing is not working. You don't get sunk in what they call the cost sunk fallacy, where you say, okay, because I put in so much energy trying to learn this thing, I put in so much time trying to learn this thing, I put in so much energy trying to do that, because it's not working. You keep doing that. That's the sunk cost fallacy. You cannot stay there. You're moving at the speed of light. This thing is not working. Okay, you don't have your emotions tied to stuff. Like I said earlier, have a mind. For you to be at the level of an adaptive learner, you have to have a mind that is open to all and attached to nothing. It does not mind if you spend 10 hours trying to write that copy. If it is not combating, leave it alone and move on. Come up with something else. It does not matter. There are stuff that I have done. I have spent, the campaign I'm currently running, I spent weeks on that campaign. And guess what? When I put out the first flyers into it, it was not converting as I thought it was going to. In fact, in less than 12 hours, I knew already the ads, the one that was not converting. And guess what? These are some of the stuff that I spent so much of my time on. But guess what I did? I did not stay there, because I understood that this is a game of reiteration. This is why it's called testing. You have to test things. You have to be the math scientist, and you have to move fast. There is no time for you to attach your emotions to this thing. If it is not working, you've tried to reiterate it. You've tried to make you've tried to iterate it. You've tried to make adjustments, and it's still not working. Leave it alone and move. There is no time. Speed is of the essence. At this level, speed is of the essence. You cannot afford to say, I was doing this thing, does not work. No, you don't need that. You keep moving. That is what this is about. That is what the level of the adaptive learner is about. You have been able to detach your emotions from the result. You have been able to detach your emotions from the actions, regardless of how much time you've spent doing this thing. So if you are in a relationship, for example, it doesn't matter how long you've been in that relationship. If you're an adaptive learner, if you see that this thing is not working, you learn, you try to make adjustments. If after making adjustment it's still not working, move. That is what it is. That is what it is. There's no need to be stubborn, because you understand that at this level, stubbornness is not just something that's going to, it's not just stubbornness for you. It is a cancer. And what happens to cancer? If you don't cut that part off, if you don't take out the cancer, what happens? It's going to spread around the whole body. It's going to spread everywhere. So you begin to see failures as things that push you to an energy of what next? What is the next thing to do? What is the next thing to do? You keep asking yourself, what is the next thing? Teachability, the adaptive learner. Now there is a 7th level, which I call the highest level of the teachability. There's a highest level, and this is what I call the master student. Listen to me. We've talked about the unteachable, we've talked about the resistant learner, we've talked about the selective learner, we've talked about the open-minded learner, we've talked about the action-oriented learner, we've talked about the adaptive learner. Now we're talking about the master student. Listen to me. I want to give you an assignment, right? I want to give you an assignment. Now, I want you to go on Google, wherever, right, and search the 100 most successful people in history all time. There is one thing that you are going to find from these guys. There is one thing that you are going to find from them. I can bet you on this. There is one characteristics that you are going to find from them. Andrew Carnegie, Reverend Chris, our spiritual fathers, right? Our religious leaders, these people, greatest scientists of all times, right? Even the footballers. These are people who keep learning, the biggest in art and science. These are people that keep learning. They are what you call the master student, because they understand that no matter how successful they are, no matter how successful I am, I would always learn. I have to always be teachable, no matter how successful. So even though they have subordinates, they understand that they could be learning from the subordinate. The subordinate just might do something, just might say something. So even if they're in a board meeting, they give the subordinates opportunity to speak, because they understand that in as much as they are successful, there is something that the subordinates know. There is something that their partners know. There is something that the employees know that they just might not know, especially if they're working in an environment where there are people with different expertise. And then what happens? They listen to them. Yeah, they listen to them, right? Because they understand that, bro, nothing feels like success. Nothing. There's nothing in this world that feels like success. I'll say that again. Nothing feels like success. The fact that you're successful right now, it does not mean that there's nobody elsewhere, nobody out there who is trying to outcompete you and who is trying to beat you. And if you depend on, if all you're depending on is the body of knowledge that you alone have, whether you are a leader of the industry, wherever you are, this was the arrogance of Kodak. This was the arrogance of Kodak. This was what happened to Nokia. The arrogance of thinking that you've gotten so big to the point where nothing or nobody can shake you, nobody can destabilize you. For what it is worth, Steve was an employee of Kodak. He was an employee there, and he did a presentation. He showed them, okay, this is the digital camera, this is the future of camera. And guess what? They ignored it because they felt like, oh, okay, they're the master. But guess what? It proved to them, history showed them that there is nothing that feels like success. So even if you, no matter how big you are, the master student, the 7th level, understands that there are things that people around me know that I just might not know. And I must be humble enough to shut the fuck up and listen to them. These are the guys that, they're successful. They are making money already, but we still pay for coaching. We still pay for mentorship. We still buy books, because we understand that the more you know, the more you realize, and this is what I started talking about earlier, the more you know, the more you realize that you do not know. The more I listen to mentors, the more I spend my time reading, the more I understand that there is so much, Joseph Michael, that you do not know. And you cannot afford to come to that place where you feel like you have arrived. You don't arrive in life. You don't arrive. The great Charlie Munger, as old as he was, as knowledgeable, as wisdom-filled as he was always learning. He kept learning. And that was why his life was a testament of endless wisdom. because he was a master student. At 90 something, the old man was still waking up every day to pick up a book to read. This was a fucking billionaire. Warren Buffett does the same thing. And guess who doesn't want to? And guess who is arrogant? The broke guy who has not made money in his life is fucking arrogant. You know? So understand that if you want to be successful, listen to me. This is the virtues of advantage. And I'm teaching you things that will give you the advantage in life. I'm teaching you things that will make you stand out in life, in your business, in your relationship, whatever you are doing. And one of it is what I'm teaching you right now. Teachability. You have to be teachable. You might not like somebody. You might not like them. You might not like the way they talk. I started saying this earlier. You might not like the way they talk. Likeness is overrated. Listen, likeness is overrated. You don't need to like people for you to learn from them. You don't need to be a selective learner. You don't need to be unteachable. Take away arrogance from your life. Take away ignorance. Take away all of those stuff. Put your ego aside. Learn to put your ego aside. There's nothing that stands in the way of learning like ego, arrogance, and ignorance. There is nothing that stands in the way of being teachable like that. So you might not like the person, but listen to them. There's something that they know. If they have the result that you're looking for, there is something that they know that you do not know. There is something that they know that you do not know. I'm saying it again, that there is something that they know that you do not know. So understand that the moment you stop learning, you start declining. And just like I said when I started this, I said the day you stop learning, you start digging your own grave. So I've mentioned the 7 levels of the teachability, right? Number 1 is the unteachable. You have no business being here if you want to be successful. Number 2 is the resistant learner. You have no fucking business being here. Number 3 is the selective learner. You have no fucking business choosing who you want to learn from. If the person has the result you're looking for, go learn from them. You might not like Joseph Michael, and I'm not asking you to like me. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm not asking you to like me. But if I know something that you need, it is in your best interest that you listen to me. If you know something that I need, I don't need to like you. It is in my best interest that I learn from you. It is in my best interest that I listen to you, because if I do not listen to you, I am going to pay the price for not listening to you in that regard. You might not like some spiritual leaders, but if they hold the key to your spiritual emancipation, you better start listening to them. You might not like some business people. You might not like some podcasters. But if they hold the wisdom that will unlock your next level, you better listen to them. You might not like some people the way they talk. But if they hold the key to your next level in your finances, you better start listening to them. You better submit yourself to them. The earlier you submit yourself to listening and being teachable to them, the better for you, basically, right? So start moving to the place of, I talked about the open-minded learner, right? I talked about the action-oriented learner. And as you're learning, learn, apply, and then don't just stop there. Add speed to what you're doing. Add speed to what you're doing, and then become the master student, right? So this is the Virtues of Advantage series, and we just talked about teachability. I hope you found value in this. Now, if you have any questions, right, I want you to put them in the comment, right? Put them in the comment below, wherever you're watching this from, okay? And I'm going to be answering your questions in the comment section. I don't miss out on it, right? Now, also, if you've not been subscribed to my YouTube, right, click on the link right around this video, somewhere around here. Click on it and make sure you subscribe. Now, if you have a friend, interestingly, a former colleague of mine reached out to me. I was like, man, bros, I need you to help me send the link to your Virtues of Advantage. I want to send it to a friend of mine. If you know someone that needs to hear this, that needs to be a part of the series, that needs to hear these things, send them the link to the channel, get them to subscribe. Interestingly, you just might not be doing me a favor. That's what I'm talking about. You just might not be doing me a favor. I'm sorry, this might sound a bit cocky, but if your friend needs to listen to Joseph Michael, send them the YouTube and get them to listen. Let them learn. This is for free. Let them learn. It might not always be free, but let them learn. Let them learn why it is free. And so you can be that bridge. So I hope this makes sense to you. We're going to continue the series. And all of this is going to drop in the playlist. Look out for it. So ensure that you apply the things that you have learned. Don't just listen to me. Don't just listen to me and run away. No. Listen, apply, and reiterate with speed. Listen, apply, reiterate with speed, and keep learning. No matter what you know, you must keep learning. Never get to that place. I repeat, never get to that place where you feel you know everything. For what it is worth, be a master student for life. That is where success is. This is Joseph Michael. I'll talk to you in the next episode of Virtues of Advantage. Bye for now.